Hello. Welcome to the 2020 LULAC Muscatine Political Forum debate. My name is Daniel Salazar, and I will be your moderator for this evening. LULAC stands for League of United Latin American Citizens and is one of the oldest civil rights organizations in the country. The mission of LULAC is to advance the economic condition, educational attainment, political influence, housing, health, and civil rights of Hispanic populations of the United States. We would like to thank the Muscatine Community College for allowing us to use their facilities and the students behind the scenes who are using this as a learning opportunity. Before we start, I would like to point out that we're all physically distant, allowing us the removal of masks. And also, LULAC is a nonpartisan organization. Tonight, we're joined by Democratic candidate Deputy Michael Channon, running for Muscatine County Sheriff. Deputy Channon has over 20 years of law enforcement experience and wants to make a positive change. If elected, Mike would bring honesty, integrity, and transparency back to the sheriff's office. We also have, for sheriff, Republican candidate Captain Quinn Reese. Over the last 21 years, he has served in almost every capacity at the sheriff's office. He promises to continue to work and dedicate himself to protecting the safety of the great citizens of Muscatine County. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So, just to reiterate, you'll both be asked the same question. You have 2 minutes to answer, uninterrupted. And you have 1 minute, if you choose to do so, to discuss and respond. There is a clock in the back, so just pay attention to that. You understand these rules that I have given to you?
Yes. Yes.
Alrighty, so let's begin. What do you view as the strengths of Muscatine County Sheriff's Office, and what are areas that need improvement? And how do you plan to address these areas that need improvement? And Captain Reese, you can go first.
First and foremost, our staff is one of our most important assets. They go out and put on the uniform day in, day out, whether it be on the patrol side or on the correctional side. They go out there, they do the job, they make it happen. Secondly, the office has a number of special details between the investigations division, the drug task force, M-Sword operators with our TAC team, canines, field training officers on both patrol and in the jail, divers, you name it. We have a number of different entities involved with the sheriff's office that work well together. They work hard, and they give it their best effort on a daily basis. The office is also involved in a number of outreach programs. Toys for Kids campaign, the Salvation Army Special Olympics. We just got involved with the Day of Caring event here a few weeks ago. Y Camp, Senior Resources. There's a number of different outreach things that we do, and we do well. And finally, the Sheriff's Office has never been in a better position than it is right now fiscally. With the jail operations running as they are, the county profits from that greatly. Things that we need to work on. I've said it since the beginning of my campaign that training and communication. Those are two things that I've ran on for the last year. In today's times with the political climate, the way it is, there's things that we can do training-wise, communication-wise, that we should be doing.
Thank you. Mike?
I'll reiterate what Captain Reese says, is the men and women that put on the uniform every day are our biggest assets. We also got to look at the civilian staff that we have that don't wear a uniform. Those men and women come in every day and work their tails off for the citizens of Muscatine County. So they are the biggest asset for the department. As for things that need to be better, there are many things that need to be better. In the last year and a half, we've had 2 votes of no confidence. We've had a prohibited acts charge that a administrative judge ruled in the deputy's favor. There was an $87,500 lawsuit that was filed against the sheriff's office that the county had to pay. Those things are an issue, and the county residents should take mind to them. We have a current sheriff that calls deputies liars, cowards, losers. And that's not only in social media, but that is also on publications, the Muscatine Journal. That stuff needs to change. We need to treat employees the way they need to be treated, the way we all need to be treated, and fair and concise, and everybody should be equal. And how to correct that is you boost morale. I mean, we've had a high turnover rate, the highest I think the sheriff's office has probably ever seen, with correctional officers, with deputies leaving at an alarming rate. And why? It's pure leadership. And my opponent says communication and training, and I agree with both of those. But the thing that I have a problem with is he's been a part of the administration for 5 years. And why hasn't it been corrected already under his leadership? So that's what needs corrected.
Very quickly, Deputy Channon, you pointed out the vote of no confidence. Just for those watching at home, is it true that it was those who are in the union that voted for this vote of no confidence, and that the majority of the Sheriff's Department did not vote?
We had 9 members in the deputies that voted for a vote of no confidence, and I don't know how many voted for the jail. There were actually 2 votes of no confidence, and those are union members that vote, yes.
Would you like to respond?
I would like to respond to that. The vote of no confidence that Mr. Channon has referred to in numerous forums and numerous commercials, numerous social media posts, is exactly that. You've got a number of staff that belongs to the union. The union does not represent the entirety of staff. That needs to be taken into account. That has not been stated in previous forums or any other media that I've been able to find. As far as I don't believe he said it in this forum, but he said it in a previous forum, that a member of this administration threatened a deputy. The word threatened is way dramatic than what actually happened. And as far as, I've heard this a number of times, where I'm part of the administration, why don't I change it? I don't know if Deputy Channon understands this or refuses to acknowledge it, but at the end of the day, there's one person in charge of the office, and that's the sheriff. I can go in, I can make my case, I can present the best argument that I can, and I have numerous times. At the end of the day, it's his decision on what happens there. So this notion that I'm part of the administration and I can change things at will is completely false.
Your responses there, and we're going to go ahead and move on. So thank you, gentlemen. So the next question here is, this election has due dedicated law enforcement officers running for the Sheriff's Department, and they're competing against each other. Elections sometimes cause hard feelings, and sides are chosen. If elected sheriff, how will you move the department forward? And Deputy Channon, you can go first.
We need to change the morale within the department. Again, the morale is at an all-time low. People are choosing sides. People are afraid with this current administration within the sheriff's office. They're afraid to do their job. Discipline is not fair. It's not fair across the board. Certain people get away with certain things with policies, and policies apply to only certain people, and other people can get away with it, and that is wrong. Policies are there for a reason, and they should apply to everybody, including administration. And we need to do a better job in a leadership aspect as to make it fair for everybody. There are certain things that we can do immediately to change the morale within the department. Treat the employees the way they need to be treated. Unite everybody, or try to unite everybody. And that's not only the deputies, that's the jail staff, that's the civilian staff. There's too much division, and that affects the morale. That affects people coming into work. People get burnt out. When you enjoy your job, you're going to have less turnover. You're going to have less call-offs. People are going to come in and do their job to the best of their ability.
Thank you. Caps?
Early on in my career, or early on in this campaign, rather, I had the opportunity to talk to Tim Lane, the Scott County Sheriff. Tim gave me one piece of advice. He says, do not campaign within the office. Don't actively seek out people within your office and go talk to them and give them your ideas and thoughts and try to persuade them. Let them come to you. What that does is drive a huge wedge right down the center of the office. And we've stuck to that throughout our campaign. I don't believe Mr. Channon has. And it's evident today with the division that we do have. As far as moving forward, whichever way it goes, I expect all of us to hit the ground running. Just because the campaigns are over, the commercials aren't on TV anymore, the mailboxes have gotten a lot lighter at home. Our duties and responsibilities haven't changed to the safety of the citizens of this county. We still have a job to do, we've had a job to do, and we're still doing that job today.
Deputy, would you like to respond?
Absolutely. I have reached out to several deputies, and usually it's the deputies that reach out to me, as has Captain Reese. When he says he hasn't done that, that's false. He has reached out. He has showed up at deputies' houses,
Invited.
had some beverages,
Invited.
and I have been invited as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've both done that. So that's a misrepresentation of what he's saying. So again, there's too much division. We need to bring everybody together.
30 seconds. Anything you'd like to add?
The portion about me seeking people out is completely 100% false. Deputy Channon had to have his schedule changed and moved away from the courthouse because people were sick of hearing him talk about campaigns.
10 seconds.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, 10 seconds.
That is absolutely, that was said, and I actually invited a internal investigation. I said, bring these people forward. They would not do so. Because that's one thing I will not do, is I have not campaigned on duty. I have told people after the fact that I will talk to them after I am off duty. So that is 100% false, and that's what this administration is about, false accusations.
Thank you, gentlemen. We do have to move on, but we can definitely come back to some of these points later.
Excellent.
So, next question here. So, what about your individual experiences prepares you to run a department and have the fiscal know-how to manage a nearly $9 million budget? And Captain Reese, you can go first.
Throughout my career, I've moved up through the ranks, through the divisions, ultimately in charge of a division. With that, I have a budget within that division that I'm responsible for. Also with other entities, whether it be the MSORT TAC team, dive team, or K-9 program. Each of those individual entities has its own line item within the budget. We have to stay within those budgets throughout the year. Also on a weekly basis, I, along with the other administration, talk about different budgetary matters, whether it be squad cars, equipment, training costs, everything down to buying ammo. Everything that we do falls within a line item of the budget. And at the end of the year, we have to stay within that budget. At the end of the last fiscal year, we came in well under budget, which doesn't happen very often. I believe we returned close to $500,000, if I remember correctly, at the end of last year's budget. So everything that we do has to have a budgetary concern to it.
Thank you. Deputy.
I agree with him that everything has to have a budgetary idea to it. It's not like we're reinventing the wheel. The budget's there. And Muscatine County has what's called a budget coordinator. You go off the budget items, you go off the line items, and you make sure you're within that budget. It's like your household budget. You do the same thing. Granted, it's a lot bigger, but it's simple math and subtraction. And if you need something, you can go to the budget coordinator and she will assist you with everything. There are things that we can also save money on, such as vehicles. We don't need a sheriff driving a brand new vehicle, brand new truck. We don't need a captain or captains driving brand new vehicles that weren't purchased under state bid. They can drive the oldest car in the fleet, as I have been since 2013, and give the best equipment to the deputies that are working the road. There are many ways to save money and continue to generate revenue, and I will continue to do that with my administration.
Thank you. And so, a quick follow-up. Both of you did say earlier that one of the most important things is the staff and the people working. Does it make sense to have some officers with older vehicles? Wouldn't that be less safe than having them all have new vehicles?
Who are you asking?
Oh,
About
to you.
me? Okay. I agree. Vehicles need to be transferred out, but I also believe that, like the sheriff, he shouldn't be driving a brand new, unmarked Chevy Silverado. The deputies need to have the best, newest equipment out there. I just received a vehicle not too long ago that had 100,000 miles on it. Why? Because I'm running for sheriff. And I ran in 2016. I have not received a brand new vehicle since. And everybody else has. So, is that fair? No. Am I whining about it? Absolutely not. I have no problem driving a vehicle that has 100,000 miles. Because if I'm elected, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected sheriff, I will continue to drive the oldest vehicle in the fleet.
Captain, would you like to respond?
I would like to respond. The idea that the sheriff drives a brand new vehicle is false. It's not a brand new vehicle. It's probably 2 years old now. My vehicle is a year old. The other captain's vehicle is 2 years old, I think. Mr. Channon has said in previous forums this $47,000 vehicle and not buying vehicles on state bid. He is correct in that. Those trucks are not purchased via state bid. Those vehicles are purchased from a local retailer. They are purchased at a price that's not anywhere close to sticker price. I just want to give you an example. One of my detectives just got a new truck within the last 2 months. We traded in the truck that he was driving, traded that in. The out-the-door price on the new vehicle that he drove off the lot was $9,200. $9,200. Okay, what that allows us to do is keep a vehicle that's under warranty. I never have to put tires on it. I never have to put brakes on it. The only thing I have to do is put gas and oil in it. I can trade it in while it's still low mileage and still get the highest resale value there is. So being able to operate a vehicle for $9,200 for 3 years is pretty good. That program is up and running. That program has been up and running for a number of years. As far as the budget coordinator statement from Deputy Channon here a few minutes ago, the budget coordinator does not prepare our budget. I don't know if Deputy Channon realizes that or not. The budget is prepared by the sheriff. The budget that's prepared goes to the budget coordinator for review and is ultimately approved by the Board of Supervisors.
30 seconds.
I'm sorry?
30 seconds.
Okay. You have to have, as an administrator, you have to have intimate knowledge of your budget. There's certain things that ebb and flow throughout the year. The price of fuel, the price of tires, the price of milk. We buy a lot of milk. You would ask, why would the sheriff's office buy a lot of milk? We have the 7th largest jail facility in the state of Iowa. We have to buy a lot of milk. You can't go to the grocery store and look at a gallon of milk and see the prices fluctuate pretty regularly. You have to budget ahead of time for those things. So this idea of there's somebody that will do the budget for us is completely false.
And very quickly, would you like to add anything?
The budget's there. That's what I said. Never once did I say she does the budget for us. The budget is there. It's not like we're reinventing the wheel. Sure, you have to prepare yourself for the budget, and that's what we will do. We will look at every budgetary item. And what I said about the vehicles is the sheriff, the chief deputy, the captain of patrol do not need to drive those. They should be driving marked units and give all the new equipment to the patrol deputies that are working the road every given day.
So, moving on, gentlemen. This next question includes the issue of immigration. So the question is, do you support deputizing local officials with the powers of federal immigration agents? And Deputy Channon, you can go first.
It's a great question. Back in 2008, I was tasked, myself and Chief Deputy Slight were tasked as TFO, which is Task Force Officers for ICE. And we did multiple operations with ICE, including the Postville raid in 2008. After conducting that, or those operations, it became clear that that's something that I would not want any deputy to be a part of ever again. The unorganization of it, the miscommunication, the way that some of the individuals that were arrested, there were 900 law enforcement officers involved in this operation. I believe 360 or 370 individuals arrested. The way that they were hoarded into cages at 10 at a time was, in my opinion, horrific. Granted, that's a personal view of what I experienced, but as for the answer to that question is no, I would not support that agenda.
Captain?
My answer is a lot shorter and a lot sweeter. No. Our deputies are our deputies. They work for us.
Well,
They
thank
work for the county. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has their own staff. We do our job, they can do their job.
Any response at all?
Short and sweet.
Look at that. You agree on something, Guinness. That's good.
It's bound to happen.
So moving on, still kind of sort of on the topic of immigration. If elected, would you honor ICE detainees not signed by the judge, which requires the sheriff's office to hold detainees beyond their scheduled release? And Captain Reese, you can go first.
We already have a policy and practice that kind of governs this type of situation. The jail division is certified to hold federal inmates. A substantially large portion of our jail population today is federal inmates. Most of those, or if not all of those, are U.S. Marshal Service holds. But with that federal certification, we can also house ICE inmates. Now, ICE has placed detainers on inmates in the past. More often than not, those detainers are placed after a criminal proceeding has started, meaning a gentleman or a gal gets arrested. They get criminally charged. Throughout that process, their citizenship becomes a question. That's where the ICE detainer then gets placed. Those criminal charges are filed by law enforcement. They are seen by judges. So that idea of just somebody there on an ICE detainer is very, 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 very rare. ICE knows that these detainers are a hot button across the country. They work not to place our jails in those positions where we have to explain those.
Deputy?
I think is when you're elected sheriff, your personal views need to set aside what we have to do as enforce the laws. And we have to enforce the laws that are on the book. on the books. And in 2018, Senate File 481, Governor Reynolds signed a legislation that prohibits us from denying that. And we can actually be fined if we don't do detainers from ICE. There was an article in the paper, pretty good read, and you can read the whole Senate file. My personal view are completely different. Again, there are a lot of laws that we do not agree with necessarily, any law enforcement. I'm sure Captain Reese can attest to that as well. But we still have to enforce them, whether we agree or not. We have to keep our personal bias out.
Would you like to respond at all?
Good with that.
Thank you, gentlemen. So moving on to the topic of mental health, how do you intend to navigate the intersection between mental health and crime in Muscatine County, and what mental health issues have you had to deal with personally while on the job, and how did you handle that? And Deputy Channon, you can go first.
Mental health is a huge, huge problem in Muscatine County. Mental health, drugs, and crime all go hand in hand. Currently, right now, when we do a mental health committal, we pick them up, we take them to the hospital, which is overwhelming for 1, the correctional staff, 2, the deputies, and 3, the hospital staff. It's overwhelming for the entire community. And this is not just a localized issue. This is a federal issue that we have nationally with mental health. And the drug problem that we have in our community is also a huge issue. And those feed on each other, mental health and drugs. If we want to talk about a pandemic, those are 2 issues that we need to talk about, because we are at a point where there's no turning back if we don't do something about it and tackle the issue head on right now. We need to have some programs in place that handle aftercare, because these individuals go to the hospital for 72 to 5 days, 72 hours to 5 days, and they come out with no aftercare whatsoever. So we're dealing with them again over and over and over again. And that's a problem, not only for law enforcement, but for the courts, for the hospitals, for the families. And we need to do something different. And that's why I want to get a coalition of individuals, lawyers, judges, county attorneys, law enforcement, psychologists, psychiatrists, to tackle these issues, have a roundtable discussion, and figure out what we can do as a community to handle these situations.
Captain?
That question does involve a lot of moving parts. There's the question of mental health, substance abuse, associated crimes, people just returning to the same environment after those mental health crises. All of those need to be dealt with. Thankfully, we have great partners to help us through this. The coalition that Deputy Channon has spoke of today and multiple times before is a thing. It's already a thing. This group meets quarterly. They meet more often if need be. It's made up of mental health professionals, substance abuse professionals, hospital staff, judicial staff, from judge level down to clerk's office staff. Everyone has a role to fill, and everyone realizes the goal is to do the best we can to ensure that at the end of the day, people are safe and they get access to the care that they need. It's an ongoing daily battle, but it is a battle that's being fought.
Thank you. Would you like to respond at all?
It's being fought, but we are losing. We need to do something different.
And would that include that coalition that you described earlier?
The coalition, and I think we need to do it more than just quarterly. Sit down monthly if we need to. We need to tackle it head on, and tackle it head on now.
Thank you, gentlemen. So we're moving on here to our last question, and this question stems from the curiosity of Muscatine citizens. Not too long ago, the citizens of Muscatine were informed that there was not going to be a police escort for a deceased soldier returning home. So I'd just like to give you both the opportunity to explain to the community just how that went about, and maybe calm some fears and assumptions that people might have. And Deputy Channon, you can go first.
We're talking about Chuck Gertz, correct? Okay. Chuck was a war vet and a hero, and it's going to be, I mean, he was helping veterans with PTSD, and we'll never know how many veterans he has saved, even through death. He's still saving with the organization that he started. When this whole thing happened, he was killed in a motorcycle accident, I believe in Kansas, and was escorted back the whole way home. And different law enforcement agencies participated in that escort all the way back to his home county of Muscatine, where we chose not to. The sheriff was asked, why didn't we do it? He said, we put a sign-up sheet and no deputies were interested. We didn't want to do it. That was not the case at all. No sign-up sheet for overtime, no sign-up sheet to volunteer. You would have had multiple people volunteer for that without even getting paid. I had talked to several deputies about that, and several veterans that would have volunteered their time free of charge if we were allowed to. The point of the matter is we were not allowed to. And I think that was a huge disservice to the sacrifice that Chuck Gertz gave to his country and fellow veterans with PTSD.
Captain?
While I don't know a lot of the background details of that incident in particular, would I have handled things differently? Absolutely. It comes down to several different factors. What day of the week, what time are we looking at? How many cars do we have out? How busy are those cars? Can I get reserve guys to cover? There's a lot of moving parts with that. Will we make every effort to make that happen? Absolutely. We do it for line of duty deaths or current military in the line of service deaths. We've done it for fire department members. We've done it for sheriff deputies, retired sheriff deputies, retired sheriff's office personnel. I think it's worth the effort, certainly worth the effort, to make that happen.
Any response?
The fact of the matter is, we didn't do it, and the community was lied to about why we didn't do it, and that is a huge problem. We did a complete disservice to his service with the military, his service, what he does for the soldiers with PTSD.
And just a quick follow-up to whoever would like to answer. Is it also true that not only the sheriff's department but also the fire department was asked, and they also said no?
That is accurate.
That's accurate.
Do you know why or no?
I do not know why.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Now you each have a brief minute or so to just give your closing statements and just let the people know whatever you want them to know. And Captain, you can go first.
Sure. I started my career here with the Sheriff's Office in 1999. For the last 21 years, my wife, now my children, call Muscatine County our home. We've raised 2 daughters, a 17-year-old that's a senior, and then I've got a 13-year-old daughter as well. Both are involved with many school functions, church clubs, many other organizations within our community. To say I've built a career here is saying it lightly. I've built my entire life around this community. It's extremely important for me to keep our citizens safe and secure as they live, work, travel through our county. And I would ask for your vote in November.
Deputy.
Hi. I am 22 years experience, 14 years in the United States Army. I'm married, have 3 children. My son is active duty in the Air Force, serving in Hawaii. My daughter is a senior in high school, and my stepson is 13 and in 7th grade. We too have grown up or had my whole entire career in Muscatine County, and I consider this home. My wife has grown up here her entire life. This race should not be about Republican or Democrat. This should be about we need change and who can better serve that within the community. I am pro Second Amendment. I am pro Iowa concealed carry. We need change, the employees need change, the citizens of Muscatine County need change, and now is the time for positive change, and I will bring that change to you.
Well, Captain Deputy, thank you for joining us. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Republican candidate Captain Quinn Reese and Democratic candidate Deputy Michael Channon. Please join us in our next segment today with the county attorney debates. And as a reminder, please do not forget to vote on November 3rd, and you can vote early. And thank you and good night.